when stress shows up in your body as physical symptoms. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing more on what psychosomatic actually means, that term psychosomatic, what psychosomatic symptoms actually are and what they are not. I'm also going to be sharing a bit more about how emotional stress patterns can show up physically in your body and why that happens, and why insight alone, like having understanding of something, that alone doesn't always resolve the physical symptoms, and how your nervous system plays a role in your healing, physical and or emotional healing. So for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Lori. I'm a licensed clinical counselor and I have over 25 years experience working both in clinical and the holistic wellness field. And today we're going to dive deeper into understanding this mind-body connection. In the previous video, I discussed about how stress doesn't just stay in your head, it actually resides and manifests in your body. I also shared about how physical symptoms are often nervous system responses and how your body is not broken, it's just adapted over time. And that symptoms are signals, not failures. There's nothing that you did wrong for these symptoms to appear. They're signals of the symptoms that you're experiencing. So, what is psychosomatic? Psychosomatic pertains to the mind body connection. It's the influence of the mind on the body and the body on the mind, and that cycle of how they relate to each other. And it's also relating to physical symptoms, including disorders, disorders that originate from an emotional cause. So, have you ever thought this before or heard yourself say this? My tests are normal, so why do I still feel this? My blood tests are normal, my x-rays are normal, my functional MRI is normal, my whatever is normal, my scope, my whatever. All of those things are normal, but I still feel this way. I'm still having symptoms, right? So a lot of people will feel confused or dismissed here. And normal test does not mean that you have imagined symptoms. So just because everything comes back normal doesn't mean, oh, it's just in your head, right? You're actually feeling symptoms. And this experience is incredibly common for people to feel. So psychosomatic does not mean that it's imagined. It means that the mind and the body are communicating. Let me repeat that. It means that the mind and the body are communicating. So psychosomatic is not made up. It's the body expressing what the nervous system is holding on to still. So there may be times in your life where it was actually healthy for the nervous system to respond in a specific way, maybe in like a fight or flight type of response. And now here you are 10 years later, and your nervous system is still responding in that way, but your environment is completely different. It's safer, it's calmer, there's less threats. You're feeling, everything seemingly to your eye seems normal, and your body's still responding to that old familiar pattern. So it could also be your body expressing what the nervous system is holding on to from many years ago. Stress patterns can also become physical signals. So here are some common physical expressions of stress. These are very common. These are the top, right? So notice some of the things that you have experienced and what you have a tendency of noticing in your body physically when you're under any kind of emotional stress. Stress can show up as tension or pain. So tension in the shoulders and the back and the hip flexors and the jaw, any kind of tension, tension in the head, having digestive issues, GI upset, having diarrhea, constipation, whether it's temporary or even severe. Fatigue, just being excessively tired, even if you have, pretty good quality sleep. You wake up just feeling like your gas tank is still on empty. Having headaches, whether that's just like a slight headache or a migraine headache that lasts for maybe days. Having a tight chest or throat, those are very common ones. So these are patterns, they're not diagnoses. And the symptoms can obviously, vary from person to person, but these are just some of the frequent flyers that we see. So why does the body get involved? Why does your body do this in the first place? If you have emotional stress that is, being held in the body, whether it's a stressor that's happening in the here and now and your body's just kind of working through that situation, that emotional stressor, or like I said, you have something like residual emotional stress patterns from perhaps many years ago. Why does your body get involved? Why does your body sometimes manifest things physically when you have emotional stress? Well, here's part of the reason why. Stress lives in the nervous system, not just in the mind. And so the nervous system governs your survival responses. And this is all automatic, it's all unconscious. It is like reactive, right? It doesn't think its way. It doesn't say, hey, what's the rational response here? It's very reactive. And chronic stress equals chronic signaling. In other words, if your body has been enduring stress cumulatively, repeatedly over time, that is, it's like a heaviness and a heaviness and a heaviness and a heaviness and a heaviness, and it gets really, really heavy, and it's continually communicating in the body, hey, something's wrong here, something's wrong here, something's wrong here. It's like the fire alarm that continually goes off over and over again over any little movement or any little sudden change in the environment because your body is just under so much stress, right? So that often happens as well. And then the body also responds when stress isn't fully resolved. When something from your past, which by the way, again, I've spoken about this in some of my previous videos. I'm going to speak a lot more too in the future in future videos about this concept about things not being fully resolved. Even if you've talked about it, this is what I often see with a lot of my personal clients that I've had is that clients have come to me saying, hey, I've done talk therapy and I still feel stuck. Why is that? I've done years of therapy. I've worked through that. Or maybe, they come to me for something and an emotional thing comes up that they didn't even suspect was going to be there or come up for them because they thought they worked through it by talking about it. And maybe for years that they've been working through that thing and all of a sudden the body's like, oh, I'm still here. There's something still here. When things are not fully resolved emotionally, also known as physiologically, because emotions are physiological, they stay in the body. And those can, those mechanisms, those physiological, unresolved physiological mechanisms, those emotional stress patterns, they will mess with body systems potentially. I've seen this over and over again when you're experiencing stress, right? So that's another reason. And also, it's just that your body is adaptive. It's not broken. It's adapting. And you can actually adapt it to create positive things as well. So this is not like, oh, this is just the way it has worked in the past. And so you're just going to be stuck with this for the rest of your life. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. In fact, what I am saying is that there's a lot of power and profound healing that can happen when we can change that internal chemistry. So insight alone is not always enough. In fact, it usually falls short. Just having an understanding and awareness of, oh yeah, I can make sense of what happened to me when I was 5 years old, and I can see how that's playing out in my 30s, for example. But just having understanding of something and why you might show up the way that you do, getting triggered the way that you do, behaving the way that you do, getting in kind of certain kind of relationships that you do, you can have all that intellectual understanding, but still not have the resolution. You can have all that intellectual understanding and still repeat the same patterns that you don't want to repeat anymore, right? That's the definition of being stuck, right? People feel like, man, or maybe you're like doing all the things right and then you tend to self-sabotage. It's because the understanding alone doesn't create the resolution. So many people already know where these things come from, right? These stress patterns or these emotional triggers, they have a sense for most people, not everyone, but for a lot of us, we know where these things stem from, especially if we're doing more of an inquiry and people are asking us very pointed questions, which often happens in, traditional talk therapy. But it doesn't actually create the resolution. It creates the understanding, but understanding does not equate resolution. And that insight is very valuable. It is very valuable. It's like the doorway that starts to illuminate things and starts, you know, the light bulbs start going off when you have that illumination, when you have that insight, right? So it's very valuable, but it doesn't always clear the charge. It doesn't always diminish you from getting triggered. It doesn't make you actually feel better inside. Not always. Most of the time it doesn't. Sometimes it does, but usually it doesn't clear that physiological charge because again, we're talking about insight with the intellectual brain, and then we're talking about physiology that's happening in the mind, in the body, right? So there's the mind and the body, mind body. And so the nervous system must experience the safety. And this is often why, talk-based awareness is different than physiological resolution. Again, we can talk about how something got there, why it got there, who was there, all the details about whatever event or chapter in our life that makes us feel and behave the way that we do in present day, but it doesn't actually change the physiological chemistry, like how you feel emotionally inside. That alone doesn't make the change. We need to change the physiology. So here's a simple everyday example. So your body learns faster than your mind, far faster. So here's an example. Jaw clenching, tight shoulders, shallow breathing. These are examples of things that your body just does. And these patterns often started as a protective mechanism. So when your body is, perceiving any kind of threat in your environment, whether it's actually threatening your physical safety or not, talk about this in previous videos as well. It could just be like something that's threatening your sense of worthiness, right? And you can feel like, oh, I'm feeling threatened here. Those patterns can elicit this physiological fight or flight response or freeze response, right? So you might have automatic clenching of the jaw, for example, when you feel like maybe you're in an environment where you're perceived to not be worthy enough or something like that. And so the body will repeat that what once helped you in the past, the body will repeat it, even if the environment is so-called safe now, right? So the other thing is that there's no need to relive the story over and over again. Noticing the pattern, just notice the pattern. Start with just noticing the pattern. Notice what your body is feeling. What are the sensations that you're feeling? Without getting too deep into the story or feeling like you have to rehash the story, just notice like, hey, what is my body feeling like right now? What's happening sensationally? I know I'm going to give you a personal example. When someone asked me many years ago, when I was really, diving deeper into the mind and the body and the spirit connection, someone asked me, where do you feel anger in your body, Lori? And I thought, what do you mean? Where do I feel anger? I feel angry. They're like, yeah, but where do you feel it in your body? I was like, I don't feel it in my body. I just feel angry. And I thought, wow, I just have not been attuned. I've not been paying attention or noticing or making a conscious, concerted effort to be aware of what my body sensationally and physiologically was doing and feeling when I felt angry, right? And so when I started to pay attention, the next time I got angry, I remembered, oh, I had that question for myself. Am I noticing anything in my body? Wow, yeah, I'm actually noticing a burning sensation between my shoulder blades. Oh, wow, my body actually is communicating to me, and I just haven't been really listening or paying attention. And so it's very, very fascinating. So, what healing is and isn't, healing is not about forcing release. We're not pushing or coercing something. We're not rehashing trauma. We're not pushing through symptoms, like just get over it and just will your way through it. It's kind of like ignoring if we do that, which by the way, that hustle culture, it kind of pushes us in that direction. That's a big no-no. If you're pushing through symptoms, if I'm pushing through symptoms, it's like the check engine light comes on in your car and you're just like, I'll get around to it later, or I'm just going to ignore it, or I'm just going to put a sticky above it so I don't see it anymore. When it's trying to get your attention, it's like, hey, there's an issue here. You need to check the engine. If you don't check the engine, perhaps bad consequences are going to happen. That's going to be very costly. right? Potentially very costly. That's what happens when we just try to push through symptoms. It's like ignoring the check engine light. The check engine light there is trying to get your attention so that you don't have major, consequences later. And the same is true for your body. Healing is about regulation, it's about safety, and it's about completing that cycle that would have, could have, should have happened in the past if you would have had all of the right environment, the right tools, the right stress levels, like all the things were optimal, right? We don't live in an optimal world. Stress happens, life happens. We all are prone to experiencing stress. None of us are immune from stress. Stress happens. And there are many times where that cycle of completion and emotional healing just doesn't complete, right? But healing does happen when we can allow our minds and bodies to go through that cycle of completion. I'll get into that a little more later. And that's actually what the Feel Better Fast technique helps to heal, is actually completing that cycle so that you don't have to carry that in your mind and your body anymore. So what this is not, what I'm not describing here when I'm talking about the mind-body connection, and more specifically when I'm highlighting the emotional component of physical symptomology, what I'm not saying is, oh, just ignore medical advice, right? What I'm not saying is, oh, just throw all, Western medicine out the door. No, we need it. We need both, right? We need both. And using our intuition and our guidance and our core principles and our values, like let that be guiding us to hold these things simultaneously. Hold medical care in conjunction with the mind body connection, also known as psychosomatics. They complement each other, they don't replace each other. So, this is often, a big reason why I'm sharing this video right now, too, is because it fills in the gap often. They will often fill in the gap that's missing in a lot of Western medicine. I actually think Western medicine is really waking up to the fact that, oh, there are these other pieces to overall health and well-being, including unhealed emotional, wounds that can actually be contributing to these physical symptoms, right? There is more awareness about that, but oftentimes that is the missing link. Because when we go to our medical doctor, for example, it's usually more, based upon physical symptoms, not emotional components influencing the physical symptoms, right? So here's an example. I'm going to give you a few examples of personal clients of mine that I've had in the past. Here's an example of one of them that I can think of right now is a client that had ongoing knee pain for weeks, kind of out of the blue knee pain, right? Like no apparent reason. There was no like injury or falling on her knee or anything like that. Suddenly she just has this knee pain and it was ongoing for weeks and she tried, different things, no remedies. It was still just lingering, right? She's like, why do I just suddenly have this knee pain? Well, I did a very short session with her. I'm talking like 15 minutes. This work doesn't have to take a long time. The emotions that we're holding in our body, and again, we're not consciously doing this. You're not doing anything wrong, okay? When these emotions are held in your body, in my body, unconsciously, they can wreak havoc on our physical body and show up. In this woman's case, it was knee pain. I helped her complete the emotional healing cycle of just a few emotions that were part of this core piece of her, physical knee pain. And there's a way that I get to that and I can access the information. I go further and deeper into that in future videos. But all this to say, after only about 15 minutes of helping her resolve physiologically, neutralize those emotions that stem from something that happened years ago, not just when her knee pain started to manifest, her knee pain went away. And she couldn't believe it. In fact, it took her a few weeks to finally, disclose to me. She's like, Lori, the knee pain went away. And my logical brain just could not make sense of it. Like I felt an emotional spaciousness or like healing or resolution when we worked, that 15 minutes together, but I didn't think it was possible that my knee pain was related to those emotions. And she's like, I can't deny that because my knee pain went away. It never came back. And it went away after, just right after we resolved those emotions. Really amazing. I had another client that came to me because she had a lot of jaw pain and she had heard that I'm a practitioner that looks at more than just emotional pain and more than physical pain. I looked at the connection between the two as well, like looking at the mind and the body holistically. What is the mind sharing about the body? What is the body indicating about the mind? Right. And so this woman came to me and I think we did maybe one or two sessions that related to emotional components influencing this chronic jaw pain. And she had done like TMJ work, she had done like manual manipulation, she had done chiropractic care specifically for working with the jaw. She had done all these different things that were really trying to help, support her structurally. But the missing link was the emotional component that was manifesting as the physical jaw pain. And what's interesting is that what the issue was related to the jaw pain was an emotional stressor that was years ago. So this was related to a divorce that she had that was years ago. And she had gone to therapy, done a lot of talk therapy around her divorce years ago. So she thought that she worked through it. She had processed all she needed to process around that divorce that happened years ago, right? Have you ever noticed yourself telling yourself, oh, that happened so long ago, and you just kind of dismiss it? Oh, that happened when I was, 3 years old. There's no way that that can be influencing my physical body now, today at age 60. I'm here to tell you, yes, it can. And this woman, when we worked together on alleviating and healing those emotions that were still lingering in her body that she didn't know consciously were lingering in her body, we helped to heal them physiologically in a very gentle, safe, effective manner. Guess what happened? Her jaw pain went away. She was floored as well because she's like, I've tried all of these things and I've done all this work. I go to a talk therapist for my emotions. I go to the chiropractor for my jaw pain. And who knew that the mind and the body was actually, it was connected? Who knew? Pretty neat. So anyway, they're very complementary. Okay. So another thing we can do is we can reframe the symptom that you're experiencing. So your symptom is a signal. It's not a failure. I talked about this in the last video that, it's almost as if you like keep getting pinged on your cell phone with notifications, right? If you have an app that just sends you tons of notifications that are really annoying and finally you have to like turn the notifications off so you stop getting all those notifications. Well, your body doesn't have a do not disturb. Your body also doesn't have, turn notifications off. The signals that happen in your body, they happen automatically. It's almost like an Amber Alert on your cell phone, right? Like an Amber Alert will just come up on your cell phone, regardless of whether you have do not disturb or notifications turned off or whatever. You can have all these settings on your cell phone, but an Amber Alert comes on and it's going to just pop up and it's going to show you exactly what it's going to show you. And it's very similar to the way in which these signals pop up in your body. And a lot of times, we'll try to suppress them or power through them and they still pop up, right? But it's not a sign of failure. It's signaling to you. It's trying to get your attention. And I hope that, these videos, as you're, watching these videos and learning more about how your nervous system works, how emotions work, how all of these things are connected, that it empowers you and doesn't, instead of leaving you feeling like defeated, right? So it's empowering to have this awareness and then have tools to be able to actually change a trajectory of where your mind and your body are heading and how you experience life with more freedom, with more spaciousness, with more peace. So the body communicates through sensations, just like I was telling you when I, was paying attention to when I felt angry. I was like, oh, I'm sensationally feeling something between my shoulder blades. It's feeling like a burning sensation. This is my body's way of communicating to me. I'm starting to get a bit heated, hot, angry, right? Your body communicates through sensation. And symptoms can be the messages asking for resolution. It's like, hey, please help me. I want to come back to homeostasis. I want to come back to feeling better. I want for you to feel it's almost like the body is communicating to you, right? Like, I want to feel better. I want resolution. So some of these symptoms can just be your body's way of saying, hey, I'm not resolved yet. I need some help here. I need your attention on this. And so it can shift from instead of feeling fearful about these things, get more curious about it. You can even ask it questions. I know that might sound a little silly to some of you. You might be like, what? Ask your body questions? Yeah, get inquisitive, get curious. Like, why, what might this be indicating? And not over analytical. Okay. I'm not talking about like over analyzing your symptoms. Like, I wonder what this means. Just lean into curiosity of like, hey, maybe this symptom is trying to get my attention so that I can resolve it. That's empowering, right? So you're not broken. You're not broken. Your body is just responding. So just to recap, physical symptoms are real. It's not in your head. Stress lives in the nervous system, in your body. Emotions reside physiologically, for better or worse, for better emotions, for worse emotions, right? They reside in your body. Insight alone doesn't always resolve symptoms, and the body responds when it feels safe. The body can get to a state of resolution when it feels safe. And so, if there's one thing that I want you to take from this, it's that your body isn't failing you. You might feel like your body is failing you. I know I felt that before in different times in my life, in different situations, different symptoms. I felt like, oh man, feels like my body's failing me. And you know what? This is a reminder for myself too, because life happens. When stress happens, it is challenging for our mind not to go there, right? And blame our bodies or like almost maybe even have some, self-hatred or like hatred towards our bodies. Like, you're failing me, right? Your body isn't failing you. It's signaling to you. So it's responding to the stress patterns that are stored in the nervous system. And when those patterns feel safe enough to complete, the body can change, the body can heal. So I hope that gives you some encouragement and some optimism. So if this is helpful for you, if any of this content is helpful for you, consider subscribing to the channel. This is all about educating you about the nervous system, looking at your emotional well-being through a holistic lens. This series that I'm covering right now is really more about the mind-body connection, but there's going to be so many more themes coming soon. So subscribe to this channel if you are interested in emotional healing and just want to learn more, dive deeper. And also, that you can contribute to this community as well. So your comments matter. You might actually be a practitioner that has years and years and years of experience, or a licensed doctor, right? You might have years of experience and be able to add tremendous value to those who are watching these videos. So if you have some really great insights or, experiences, knowledge, whatever, share it in the comments below so we can help and encourage each other. Okay? I look forward to seeing you in the next video.